We all know the NBA is incredibly strict and full of rules that don't even make sense, from dress codes, branding deals, jersey numbers, and more. You're not going to believe how ridiculous they get. Don't forget to leave a like and comment the keyword to win the giveaway. Number 8. Getting caught wearing Timbs. Now at this point, is there an outfit Russell Westbrook hasn't worn? From questionable attire to suave and dapper suits, the guy, along with many others, continues to keep us guessing. Unfortunately, there is one thing he will never be wearing, or seen caught wearing unless he wants a fine, while entering the stadium. Timberlands. Yeah, Timbs. The all-purpose, all-condition, I wish a mother would, yeah, those Timbs. Back in 2005, Commissioner David Stern enforced this dress code policy, specifically after one incident, the Malice in the Palace. Now, some dress code rules make sense, like vertical improving shoes or the Jordan 1s and Athletic Propulsion Labs Concept 1, that name alone would rule me out. Do-rags, back in the early 2000s, do-rags didn't appear so family-friendly. Chains and pendants and anti-LeBron apparel. Come on guys, those were just mean guys. But Timbs, really? How else can players let the fans know it's that time? It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense, but Commissioner Stern stated, "There are different uniforms for different occasions. There's the uniform you wear when you're on business, there's the uniform you might wear on your casual downtime with your friends, and there's the uniform you might wear when you go back home. We're just changing the definition of the uniform that you wear when you're on NBA business." Right. Anyways, the rule bars players from being seen while on business by NBA fans, so I guess the league just isn't about it. Number 7. Disaster drafting. This is another rule that hasn't had to be enforced yet, and let's pray this one never has to apply. But with recent sporting incidences that have left players and entire teams severely injured or even dead, the NBA has a rule which enables a team to pick players from other teams to fill their roster. It sounds unfair, but given the circumstances, you can't make a whole lot of complaints. But when would this rule ever be applied? Well, it almost did happen. In the 1960s, the Lakers had a too close for comfort kind of incident where the pilot almost lost control during a snowstorm, but was luckily able to land in a cornfield. You know, those good old cornfields. Because of that incident, the league had to think quickly about the potential of an incident like that happening again. It all sounds great, but there are obviously some limitations to the drafting. First, the rule would only apply if at least 5 players from a single team would die. Then an emergency draft would take place, allowing the impacted team to draft from any team, and I do mean any team. Teams forking over players can protect 5 of their own players from being swiped, so first to go is most likely going to be the 6th man. A crucial player for many teams, but still not a LeBron or a Giannis, so sorry if you thought that would be an option. The rule also limits 1 player per 2, regardless if the team wanted 2 unprotected players. The rule is similar to the expansion rule, except highly unlikely to happen, so let's hope it stays that way. Number 6. The foul out rule. The entire team's players except for 1 have either been ejected or all fouled out. It's a wrap, so call it a day. Well, not quite. What this somewhat twisted rule enables for is that a single player, despite how many fouls they've acquired, can continue playing as long as they haven't been ejected. However, if there's another player who hasn't been ejected, for example, that's only been fouled out and it's not been flagrant, then they can substitute for that last player receiving their last foul. It's a cool exception, right? Kind of confusing, but unfortunately, despite being able to play with consecutive fouls, each foul committed results in a personal, team, and technical foul, meaning that 3 free throws will be taken by the opposing team instead of 2 on a blocking foul over a 2-pointer and 4 free throws for a blocking foul on a 3-pointer. In 2017, with almost 14 minutes left in the Alabama-Minnesota game in November, it was way too early for this, the entire Bama bench thought it was necessary to engage in a little horseplay involving Minnesota. The encounter would force the entire bench to be ejected. All was well, though Bama still had 5 players on the court. Then, with less than 12 minutes left, one of the 5 was fouled out. Then an injury happened that forced another player out. And with only 3 players on the court for Alabama. Despite being able to keep the game close, big ups to Colin Sexton for leading the way with 40 points, the loss seemed inevitable. Although it would be an entertaining game to watch in the NBA, it hasn't had to be enforced yet. And under the circumstances where it would be enforced, that would be a little bit terrifying. Number 5. No double zeros. Retired numbers are a no-go. Having the same number as a current teammate is a no-go. But what about 0? Well, that's fine. What about double 0? That's even better. Okay, but what about one teammate sporting 0 and then the other double 0? Well, in that case, it's a no. Wait, what? Both numbers are pretty different despite essentially being the same number. The issue isn't that they are, mathematically, the same numbers. By my calculation, 0 plus 0 equals 0. The rule is apparently to protect from any mishaps occurring during the game relating to confusion of the two numbers. The rule is an odd one, but the logic supposes there is a high chance of confusion by refs and scorekeepers. I mean, yeah, sure, but there are also these things called last names that we can differentiate people by, if that's the real issue. I still like the idea of the numbers are the same, but hey, the league has its reasons made up. Number 4, the no logo rule. Another dress code rule, but this one deserves its own headline because of how not so related to player image or performance it is, versus the league just trying to control player advertising. Keep their cash in-house. Logos are strong advertising ploys that companies use for marketing, so it makes sense why the league would prohibit these things since they're not directly benefiting from those advertisements. No revenue generation coming in, as if they need it. The furthest attempt a player can make to sport a commercial logo is through the shoes that they wear. So, no fancy haircuts with advertisements, which also means no branded headbands, arm sleeves, or other accessories. And just a quick note about headbands, it's a violation to sport a headband upside down, which is weird, I know. It's ridiculous, but we can't be all too surprised by this one. Number 3, a mandatory 18 days of rest. With recent news about the league fining the Timberwolves for allowing D'Angelo Russell to take a day off, it's pretty inconsistent with the league's supposed interest of protecting its players. Granted, the leave wasn't due to rest and happened at the expense of a road game, the policy looks to protect players from being overpracticed, meaning teams, no matter how hard they're trying to work, cannot practice a certain amount of consecutive days without rest. It seems a bit contradictory that it only applies to practices and not games, but the league's interests seem to be more of a monetary effect than a looking out for the players kind of thing. D'Angelo Russell is amongst players who've been called out for taking games off for whatever reason. A recent change would also be made to the rule which restricted teams from letting players sit under the reasoning of load management. When Kawhi Leonard was sat out of back-to-back games due to a knee injury, Doc Rivers made a hiccup by admitting that Kawhi was feeling great. Due to that, the league stressed its terms that it was a violation for teams to healthy players under certain game situations. Unfortunately for D'Angelo, his birthday fell on an away game, and had it been a home game or unusual circumstances, none of us would have been hearing about his day off. But here we are, concerned about a man's birthday, when really the league is focused on ratings. I mean, player health. Number 2, striking the ball. Starting out this category is an obvious one. You can't kick the ball. You know this, everybody knows this, but what about striking? What does it actually mean? We're all familiar with the kicks call during pickup basketball, but that rule extends to beyond just below the legs. The game is played with your hands, more specifically an open hand, which means that you can't punch the ball, no closed fists are allowed, or else it's going to result in a turnover, even if you're just dribbling the ball and feel the need to knuckle up and punch the ball. Additionally, no shoulder bumping, knee hits, booty bumps. Honestly, this rule goes way beyond having possession of the ball, Grayson. Or any use of a body part that is anything other than an open hand to dribble, pass, or hold is allowed. Now, the real reasoning behind this is that when a ball is punched, there's an irregularity in where the ball might fly. It could strike another player, or the ref, or coaches, or even worse, a fan enjoying a nice round of beer and hot dog. Oddly specific, but things do happen at these games. The league wants to protect its fans the best way they can, so imagine a ball to the face of your favorite player or celebrity. Well, that's not pretty at all. Number 1. The sixth man rule. There are 5 players on the court from each team. There are 5 players on the court. There are 6. That's strange. Let's hope the refs catch the obvious extra player that has to check in. Oh, they can't count that bucket, can they? There are 6 guys on the team. Well, some rules just don't make a lot of sense, since they appear to be a clear violation of basic elementary rules. However, the league has a rule which enables this set to exist on the court and benefit from the mishap. In 2008, Portland was playing against the Celtics and somehow managed to slip in an extra player to get a quick score. Portland, with the extra man on the court, confusing the Celtics, was able to get an easy bucket. After the play, a technical foul was called. To everyone's surprise, nothing could be done about the play, and the possession essentially led to a free point. No amount of complaining by Kevin Garnett could get the refs to change what had happened on that play, but it later would force the NBA to re-look the rule and then change it. You remember Greg Oden, right? Right? Well, this might be the only NBA memory players have of him, as he made that assist, and I wonder whatever happened to that guy. Now, honestly, the league has many more problems than to worry about player image, but because the players represent the league's image, it's safe to say they'll always and forever have control on much of what's done by the players. What were some of the rules that caught you off guard, or you had no idea to the full extent about? Leave it all in the comments below and let me know what you want to see next. Thanks for watching.